Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore and thank you for joining me today. So let's continue on our journey discussing the Mars-Uranus conjunction in Taurus happening in about a week or so from now. And I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter than my videos, because most of my videos push well over 20 minutes. Because I would like to probably make a part 3 as we get even closer to the exact conjunction itself. But right now we are very, very close. 22 degrees Mars and Uranus is about 27 degrees, 26, 27 degrees. And I'm also going to do my best to not talk about strictly world things. And I promise you, I'm going to talk more about how this might affect your personal life. But again, all of us are so different that it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly what might occur in your life. Only you really would know that. Or if for any reason you book a reading with me within the next 10 days, we can really, really dive into that. But the truth is, guys, is that every planet that has hit Uranus in the last 3 months has triggered massive global events, right? And the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which was that very, very famous conjunction that all astrologers were looking at for well over a year, that really set the tone for all the other planets that were going to hit it additionally. So the same themes potentially were going to arise in one way, shape, or another. Now, Mars is a malefic, right? Mars is the god of war. Mars is anger, rage, but it's also assertiveness, action, the physical vitality. It is how we get things done. It is how we even manifest into the world. Without Mars, we would not be able to speak directly. We would not be able to act directly. And each of us have Mars somewhere in our birth chart. And typically that is where a lot of your potential physical vitality, verbal vitality, anger, rage, and just basic assertiveness is most likely to be manifesting most dominantly for you. So wherever Mars is transiting in the here, now, time, space, reality, usually that part of our life is highlighted, more aggressive, more energetic. Even if this is mental energetics, it is just there's this desire to come to the world, right? I always say during Mars transits, we always have just a little bit of more pep in our step, or we at least want a little bit more pep in our step. Or if Mars is transiting in a part of your life where there's other planets, those other planets get activated, potentially become more aggressive, more energized, can backfire, in ways. We can get the negative aspects of Mars where it becomes a little bit detrimental to physical health, or it could be a little bit detrimental to, potential anger outbursts and the way that we move forward in the world. Like if Mars is going to conjunct Saturn in your life, then, or the Saturn part of, the Saturn in your birth chart, potentially, that could give you more added boost to, things in your life that are structured. So you might be able to, work more efficiently with Mars. Sorry, there's something in my face. Work more efficiently with Mars there, So sometimes Mars-Saturn conjunctions are actually very nice, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it. But Mars conjunct Uranus now, I believe, is going to be just piggybacking on when Venus conjunct Uranus, when Mercury conjunct Uranus, and those all happened after Jupiter conjunct Uranus. And Jupiter really triggered a lot of global uprise, protests. It's when the Palestinian Israel, protests started to happen. And I think on the world stage, we're seeing now more protests. We're seeing elections become very aggressive. We're seeing, far-right movements rising, becoming more popular. We see how liberalism is trying to fight back. In France, for example, you had the Liberal Party, defeat the far-right candidate. So regardless of what your views are, we're seeing this play out. We're seeing this manifest. We're now seeing the aggressiveness of politics. And I think that's the best way to just put it, without diving deeper into the specifics regarding politics. But we're seeing an aggressiveness involving the political stage. Now, one can argue we always have aggressiveness in the political sphere, but if you think about what the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction did and what Uranus can stand for, Uranus is, defines parts of Aquarius, because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and Aquarius is collective ideals, humanity, societies, social behavior, social systems, whether that's for the positive or rebelling against the social systems, right? So that's just one dimension of Aquarius. So when we deal with Uranus, and how Jupiter triggered things involving the expansion of ideals, the expansion of beliefs, right? Jupiter is about belief. Jupiter is about the expansion of knowledge and truth. And every political side of the aisle thinks that they're fighting for their version of truth, their version of what's right, right? Everyone has an ideology that they believe in. People are willing to die for Donald Trump. People are willing to be defiant and stay in a presidential race where they literally shouldn't. The defiance of the ideologies right now in the world are thick. And Mars conjunct Uranus is providing this potent anger and rage and aggressiveness and defiance and, this battle mentality, this warrior mentality on both sides of the aisle, right? So from a political perspective, from a collective perspective on what people believe in right now, this is extremely important. And we're all forgetting, or maybe we're not forgetting, I'm here to remind you, Chiron is an Aries. So one of our biggest Chiron wound collective stories is this fight for identity, this understanding of identity. On a collective world stage, all countries are coming up and facing some of their most powerful issues involving the nation state identities. That's why we're having so many far-right movements in Europe, even though I feel liberalism is sort of winning still, which I'm more of a proponent of. I know we can have problems in the world, but fascism is definitely not the answer either, because that's just going to create more racism and hate. And again, I just think people need to figure their shit out diplomatically instead of swinging far to the right. But again, the point is that we're in a place where ideology regarding world stage politics is front and center now with the rage and the fight with Mars there. So we can't ignore this, guys. We all are citizens of the world. And I know maybe some of you don't like when I talk about world stuff, but again, the world is the world. We live in it. Don't be ignorant to it. And that's just the way it is. But and I would love to know exactly where Taurus is in your life, because we really are birthing a new world. And I think we're birthing a new world in the Taurus part of our life. I really do think that's true. And I think it has been a messy Taurus transit. I think we're at the tail end almost of a very messy, part of our life in Taurus, because until Uranus gets out of Taurus into Gemini, we're wrapping up a very, very big cycle of what it means to birth a new reality in our life. And think about this. Aries is the zodiac sign of birth, right? Is the coming into the world, is the initial birth of action, of, being free into the world. Aries is very like, I'm here and I want to be free and I want to just move forward without thinking. I just want to do what I want to do. And this is the first stage of zodiacal birth, right? In the zodiac wheel. The second stage of the zodiac wheel is Taurus, where we begin to realize that we are a body and that we're on a planet and that there's a world around us. And that Taurus represents materiality. It represents anything in this world that is physical, right? And this can represent Mother Earth. This can represent things going on the global stage in a way. This can represent, climate issues. This can represent anything that involves, our physical life. So wherever Taurus is in your birth chart, there's a very physical focus there. There's a very physical essence there. And we can even say there's a Venusian essence there as well, because Venus rules Taurus. But that's really, I think, in my opinion, this fight for beauty, or this, desire for beauty and growth, right? So growth sometimes is very painful. Growth sometimes requires a lot of pain. But growth is also beautiful, right? So we can also grow in a very beautiful way. So it just really depends on how you look at Taurus, generally speaking. But when we're dealing with Uranus, and we're dealing with some of these massive transits that have been conjunct Uranus over the last couple of months, which, if you think about it, there has been massive conjunctions. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction was the first big one that set the stage for a lot of what we're seeing now, because all of these other transits passing over Uranus are almost like just another wave crashing onto the shore, where Jupiter really kind of set the first big wave into motion. So since the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we've been just having wave after wave crash into Uranus, and we're just continuing to see, this energetic manifestation based upon the planet that touches it. And now we're at Mars. So in your life, depending on where Taurus is, of course, greatly dictates what's going to happen, or what's already manifesting, because we're already feeling those effects, right? I'm seeing a lot of anger, in my world, not for me personally, but just, I'm seeing a lot of tempers rise. I'm seeing a lot of sudden outbursts from people. I'm seeing also beautiful breakthroughs happening. I'm seeing births. And if we really think about what birthing is violent. It's a violent act. I know everyone likes to say, oh, having the birth of a child is beautiful. And I know some of you moms out there, probably think that. But also remember the violence that actually is. Something is coming out of your body that is massive, in a way, it's pretty big, right? A little baby coming out. It's not that little. It's a violent act. And I would argue all birthing, all growth, in some way, shape, or form is hurt. It hurts. It is violent. It is, there's a moment of suffering there. So when it comes to Mars, because we're dealing with action, because we're dealing with fire, most of us might get burned. Like, there will be a burn. There will be a moment of soreness, inflammation, pain, or we might have just that breakthrough that, takes us out of pain, that takes us out of suffering, that takes us out of, just sort of maybe takes us out of a place of weakness. Because Mars wants to combat weakness. Mars doesn't like to be weak. Mars is strong. Mars is needed for manifestation. Mars is needed for moving forward, dying for what it believes in, not being fearful of struggle. It doesn't like to be slowed down. So Mars will pummel through Uranus, and it's already beginning that process, which is why I constantly am bringing up the world stage, because just look how the boiling part of water is only getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's slowly overflowing, right? And I think once Mars passes through Uranus, we will see things calm down a little bit. But again, the aftermaths are still there. Just like the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is still lingering around, just like Mercury's, when that hit, Uranus, we dealt with like Trump getting in trouble in a massive way in New York. We're going to see what the New York court system maybe even says in a couple of days from now, because I think his sentencing is maybe this week. So again, there's a lot going on still with the residuals of things happening in the world. But if you're willing to share what's going on in your life, drop it down below. Where's Taurus in your birth chart? Because again, guys, this is not all doom and gloom for us personally. We all have a different experience in life. And for some of us, this might be like that one phone call that you get that really like inspires you to take action on something. This can be that one moment where you're just super inspired to go on a trip. You just are ready to do something. So again, sudden action, sudden breakthroughs involving action, sudden, events that occur. And these can be beautiful things as well, right? Like, for example, for the liberalism movements in the world, these breakthroughs are positive for them. Whether you disagree with it or not, for them, they're ecstatic right now. They're happy. They are staying more progressive, and they're going to figure out maybe, hopefully, their problems. But they're not falling prey to conservatism and being far right, for example, or, heading down a road, historically speaking, where this type of stuff has happened before, where they move towards some sort of a fascism. And people don't believe me when I say that, but I don't know why it's so hard to believe that fascism can't rise again. And if you really want to talk astrology, some of these major transits that are going to be happening in the next 3 years are predicting almost a World War III, are predicting more catastrophic things to happen. So in a way, I'm not surprised that we have the far right movements becoming more dominant in this world. The middle is fading away. The middle class is fading away. So we're having a lot of the same patterns repeat from 100 years ago, during World War I, World War II. And astrology shows us that history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And no human being is willing to wake up. That's the problem. So again, if you're picking a tribe, one side or another, again, you're participating in the Mars right now. You're participating in the anger and the rage versus taking a step back and just seeing how everyone is losing their mind right now, politically speaking. And the answer is always progression. It is not going backwards. It is not being too conservative, but it's also not being too liberal, right? The answer is always in the middle, but no one cares about the middle. No one, because it's not fun there. People love drama and hate and this, that, and the other thing. And the key word for this sentence I just said is hate. Mars is capable of hate, right? So if you want to do yourself a favor, I'm not saying you're going to get triggered, but I think triggering is definitely maybe on the horizon for all of us in that part of our life. Someone may twist your, push your buttons. So be careful, because one wrong thing might trigger a rage fit with Mars hitting Uranus. So I would say watch your temper. We're all capable of anger. I'm no saint, So yeah, guys, well, that's all I have for you today. Keeping this under 20 minutes. Look at me. And let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts and theories about yourself, maybe the world, if you don't mind sharing. Let's try not to get heated politically in the comments, guys. I don't, if you have anything, if you think you're going to, try to show me or something like that, politically speaking, I'm not saying any of you guys do that, but this isn't a place for political discourse in that regard. This is a place for astrology, okay? And understanding the astrology. This is not a place for political discourse and opinions and fighting. Those comments will be removed, just saying. But yeah, just whatever you want to share, including your astrology, your thoughts and theories regarding astrology, please share them. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. Once again, please check out my description box below. If you would like to contact me, book a reading, purchase my classes and courses, all that stuff is down below. Go explore, click around, and I'll see you all in the next video.